Hello, friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. You ever feel like the highway is watching you? I ain't talking about cops hiding behind signs or cameras blinking red in the dark. I mean really watching you, like the road itself is alive and breathing. I've been driving trucks for over 20 years now, and let me tell you something straight. I've seen stuff out there that would make your skin crawl off your bones and run back home screaming. What I'm about to tell y'all ain't no campfire tale or drunk man's rambling. This happened to me, out there on the open road, far from city lights, where the only sound is the hum of your engine and the wind screaming through your mirrors. It all started with a night run from Montana down into Nevada. I was hauling a load of steel beams, nothing fancy, just a standard contract. My route took me through miles of pitch-black desert highway, the kind of stretch where you go hours without seeing another soul. I remember checking my mirrors around midnight, just past mile marker 417. That's when I saw him, a man standing perfectly still on the side of the road. Tall, thin, wearing an old-style trench coat. I slowed just a little, thinking maybe he needed help. But as I got closer, he turned his head toward me, and I swear to God, his eyes glowed like cat's eyes in the dark. No flashlight, no headlights, just him and them eyes, gleaming greenish yellow like some damn animal. I didn't stop. I floored it. Rolled past him doing 75, heart pounding like a jackhammer. But it didn't end there. About 5 minutes later, my CB crackled to life, even though I hadn't heard a single trucker on this stretch all night. A voice came through, raspy, slow, and bone-deep cold. "Don't run from him. He don't like that." I nearly jumped out of my seat. I grabbed the mic and said, "Who the hell is this?" No answer, just static. Then the damn radio went completely dead. Not just quiet, dead. No power, no hum. Like it had been ripped out of the dash. I looked in the mirrors again, and I'll be damned. He was back. Same man, standing by the road up ahead. But there's no way. No exits, no side roads. No way he could have gotten in front of me unless he wasn't human. That was the first time I met the Watcher. But sure as hell wouldn't be the last, so I'm gripping the wheel tight now, knuckles white, engine roaring louder than it should for a flat stretch of highway, and I'm staring down this guy who somehow beat me to the next mile. He's just standing there again, no hitchhiker's thumb, no bags, not even a blink. I don't slow down this time. I blow past him again, and just as I do, he turns that head real slow and looks right at me through my side mirror. I swear to you, his face, it ain't right. It was like looking at a photo that's been soaked in water and then pulled apart. Eyes too wide, mouth hanging a little too open, skin sagging like gravity had a personal vendetta against him. And still those glowing eyes, staring right into my soul. I must have driven another 40 minutes in silence, nothing but the thump of the tires and the sound of my own breathing. I tried the CB again, tried calling dispatch, tried even flipping through FM stations just to hear a human voice, but it was all dead. Like I'd slipped into some dead zone or another world where communication was just a memory. I finally saw lights up ahead. A tiny little gas station and diner combo called Earl's Pit Stop, like something out of the 60s. Neon sign buzzing. Faintly one pickup truck parked out front. Not a soul around. I pulled in fast, slammed the brakes, engine idling hard like it didn't want to stop moving. I hopped out, boots hitting the gravel, and for a second it was dead quiet, like the whole place was holding its breath. Then I heard it. The bell over the diner door jingling even though I hadn't touched it yet. I pushed it open slow, and the second I stepped inside, the whole place felt wrong. Not dirty or messy, just frozen. There was a man behind the counter, staring out the window, not blinking. A woman sitting in a booth stirring coffee that had long since gone cold. Neither of them looked at me. I said, "Excuse me," but got nothing in return. Just that same eerie silence, like they were waiting for something. I walked up to the counter, heart beating like a war drum, and leaned in to get a look at the man's face. And that's when he spoke without moving his mouth. His voice came out clear but sounded like it was coming from inside my own skull. "You saw him, didn't you?" he said. "The highway don't take kindly to those who notice what they're not supposed to." My spine turned to ice. I stumbled back, bumping into a chair that hadn't been there before. The woman in the booth looked up at me finally, and I realized her eyes were gone, just smooth blank skin where they used to be. And yet somehow, I could feel her staring right through me. "You shouldn't have looked," she whispered. "Now he knows your name." I backed toward the door, chest tight like someone was sitting on it, and every instinct in me screamed, to run. The man behind the counter finally blinked, just once, and then he smiled real slow. Too slow. His teeth weren't teeth. They were tiny, smooth, black stones, like wet gravel from a riverbed. I yanked the door open and stumbled back into the night air, which suddenly felt thick, like I was breathing through oil. My rig sat there idling with the lights still on, but the entire gas station lot looked different now. No pickup truck, no tire marks, and not a single star in the sky. Just this blanket of black above me, heavy and moving like it was alive. I climbed into the cab fast, locked the doors, and threw her into gear. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed distance between me and that place. As I pulled back onto the highway, I looked in the mirror again. And that gas station? It was gone. I mean gone, like it never existed. Just more desert, flat, and endless. My GPS was blank, my phone still dead. I was driving blind into the unknown with only my headlights showing me the way. About 10 miles later, I started to feel the temperature drop. Real cold, like middle of winter in Wyoming cold, and I'm in the middle of the Nevada desert. My windshield started fogging up from the inside, and I reached to wipe it clean when I noticed handprints appearing on the glass. Not one, not two, a dozen. Small ones, children's hands, like they were pressing from the inside. I slammed on the brakes, slid a little sideways on the asphalt, heart thumping loud in my ears. I threw the door open, jumped out, and stared at that windshield. The prints were gone, but my breath was fogging heavy in the air like I was standing in a freezer. That's when I heard the laughter. High-pitched, echoey, but no direction to it, like it was all around me. Kids laughing, giggling, but twisted, off, like they were mocking me. I turned in circles, shining my flashlight into the brush, the road, the truck, but saw nothing. And then I saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing barefoot on the double yellow lines about 20 feet ahead of my rig. She was in a white dress, long black hair covering her face. She tilted her head like she was curious, but didn't move a muscle. I took a step toward her, not knowing why, like something pulled me forward. That's when she lifted her hand real slow and pointed behind me. I turned, nothing there. But when I turned back around, she was gone. No sound, no footsteps, just gone. And in her place, scratched into the asphalt, were words that hadn't been there before. "He rides with you now." I backed toward the door, chest tight like someone was sitting on it, and every instinct in me screamed to run. The man behind the counter finally blinked, just once, and then he smiled real slow, too slow. His teeth weren't teeth. They were tiny, smooth black stones like wet gravel from a riverbed. I yanked the door open and stumbled back into the night air, which suddenly felt thick, like I was breathing through oil. My rig sat there idling with the lights still on, but the entire gas station lot looked different now. No pickup truck, no tire marks, and not a single star in the sky. Just this blanket of black above me, heavy and moving like it was alive. I climbed into the cab fast, locked the doors, and threw her into gear. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed distance between me and that place. As I pulled back onto the highway, I looked in the mirror again. And that gas station? It was gone. I mean gone, like it never existed. Just more desert, flat, and endless. My GPS was blank, my phone still dead. I was driving blind into the unknown with only my headlights showing me the way. About 10 miles later, I started to feel the temperature drop. Real cold, like middle of winter in Wyoming cold, and I'm in the middle of the Nevada desert. My windshield started fogging up from the inside, and I reached to wipe it clean when I noticed handprints appearing on the glass. Not one, not two, a dozen. Small ones, children's hands, like they were pressing from the inside. I slammed on the brakes, slid a little sideways on the asphalt, heart thumping loud in my ears. I threw the door open, jumped out, and stared at that windshield. The prints were gone, but my breath was fogging heavy in the air like I was standing in a freezer. That's when I heard the laughter. High-pitched, echoey, but no direction. To it, like it was all around me. Kids laughing, giggling, but twisted. Off, like they were mocking me. I turned in circles, shining my flashlight into the brush, the road, the truck, but saw nothing. And then, I saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing barefoot on the double yellow lines about 20 feet ahead of my rig. She was in a white dress, long black hair covering her face. She tilted her head like she was curious, but didn't move a muscle. I took a step toward her, not knowing why, like something pulled me forward. That's when she lifted her hand real slow and pointed behind me. I turned, nothing there. But when I turned back around, she was gone. No sound, no footsteps, just gone. And in her place, scratched into the asphalt, were words that hadn't been there before. He rides with you now. Now I ain't the kind of man who spooks easy. 20 years driving cross-country, I've seen wildfires licking at the side of my truck, deer crashing into the windshield like missiles, even a meth head trying to climb onto my rig at a rest stop once. But this was something else entirely. I got back in that cab, heart hammering, throat dry as sandpaper, and I didn't even bother checking the mirrors. I didn't want to see nothing. Not that girl, not that watcher, not those ghostly handprints. I didn't want to see a damn thing. I just wanted to drive. And I did, for hours. But here's the kicker. I never passed another car. No headlights, no taillights, nothing. It was like I was driving through some stitched-together patch of hell where time didn't exist and the road just stretched on forever. At some point, I realized my clock on the dash had frozen. 3:17 a.m. No matter how long I drove, it stayed. Locked on that number. My GPS screen was still dead. But then, around what should have been sunrise, the world started shifting. I don't know how else to describe it. The desert around me turned pale, like it was being drained of color, all washed out, like an old film reel. And the sky? It wasn't lightening up. It was staying that deep oil-black color like something huge was hovering just above the atmosphere, blocking out the sun itself. That's when I started hearing the thumping. Not mechanical, not my tires, not the engine. This was something else, rhythmic, pulsing, like a heartbeat but not mine. It was coming from the sleeper cab behind me. And let me tell you, when you're driving alone, and you know damn well you didn't bring nobody with you, the sound of something breathing behind the curtain will turn your guts to water. I reached back, hand trembling, and yanked the curtain aside, and for a second, just a split second, I saw the silhouette of a man crouched low, facing the corner. Not moving, not breathing, but present. His back was too wide. His spine looked twisted. I blinked, and he was gone. But the smell stayed. Damp earth, like grave soil mixed with gasoline. I slammed the curtain shut, muttering every prayer I could remember from childhood. I didn't stop driving, not until I saw the sign. Welcome to Dry Fork, population 61. Never heard of it, wasn't on my map. But hell, at that point, I just wanted to be somewhere, anywhere, with people. But as I crossed into that ghost town, I had no idea I was driving straight into a place even worse than the road behind me. The town looked like it had been peeled straight out of the 1950s and dropped in the middle of nowhere. One narrow main street, a few shuttered shops with sun-bleached signs, a broken-down post office, and a gas station with pumps older than my daddy's boots. But there was something off about it all, like it had been preserved, not abandoned. No dust, no spider webs, not a single speck of decay. Everything looked clean, too clean, like it had been wiped down just minutes before I rolled in. I pulled up outside what looked like a diner, killing the engine. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from inside, I heard a faint hum. Music. Something old. A woman singing on a static-filled radio, her voice warbling like it was floating through time. I stepped down from the cab and walked toward the front door, boots echoing, on the cracked sidewalk. When I pushed it open, a bell above the door jingled, and inside, well, it was like stepping into a time capsule. Red leather booths, black and white checkered floor, chrome stools at the counter. And sitting there as natural as could be were 6 people. 3 men, 3 women, dressed like they'd just come from a sock hop, slicked hair, bright dresses, eyes all fixed on me the moment I entered. But none of them said a word. Not a smile, not a nod, just quiet, heavy staring. The waitress behind the counter, a tall, thin woman with platinum blonde hair done up in curls, moved first. She picked up a coffee pot and started pouring into a cup that hadn't been there a second ago. "You're just in time," she said, without looking at me. Her voice was sweet but hollow, like she was reading from a script. "We've been waiting for you." I didn't sit down. I stayed right there by the door. "What is this place?" I asked. She looked up then, and her eyes, they were just like his, the Watcher's, that same gleaming animalistic glow. "Dry Fork's always been here," she said softly, "but it only appears when the road brings someone lost." I backed up toward the door, hand already reaching for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Locked from the outside. I looked out the window and nearly lost my damn mind. My truck, my rig, was gone. Nothing but empty road and that endless dark sky. I turned back to the diner, but the people, they weren't sitting anymore. They were all standing now, surrounding me, staring with faces too smooth, skin too tight, no wrinkles, no pores, like masks stretched over mannequins. "You saw him," one of the men whispered. "That means you belong to the road now." And before I could scream, everything went black, like someone had flipped the world's off switch. When I came to, I was sitting in my rig, engine humming, hands back on the wheel like I'd never left. But something was wrong, real wrong. The windshield was cracked across the center, spider-webbed like it had taken a punch from a wrecking ball. My mirrors were gone, just snapped clean off. And the CB? Melted. I ain't joking. The plastic casing was bubbled and warped like it had been held to a blowtorch. I looked around, trying to get my bearings, but the highway I was on wasn't any I recognized. It was paved, sure, but the asphalt was darker than it should have been. Almost. Black-blue, and it shimmered under the moonlight like wet stone. No signs, no mile markers. Just a long, curving road stretching into forever. The kind of road that doesn't want to be found on any map. I tried to turn the truck around, just get out of there, but the steering wheel wouldn't move. It was locked in place, tight like someone had jammed a rod through it. I stepped on the brakes. Nothing. Tried the horn. Dead. Then I saw it. Etched into the glass of the rear window, deep and jagged like it was scratched with a claw. Keep driving. I felt the chill creep up my spine again. That same cold from the desert, seeping into my bones. And then I felt it. Wait. Behind me. Not a noise, not a breath. just the unmistakable sense that someone, or something, was sitting in the sleeper cab. I didn't dare turn around. I just kept my eyes forward, knuckles white, on the wheel, and the road started moving. I swear, the truck started rolling on its own, tires spinning slow at first, then faster, until I was cruising at 60 miles an hour with no control over where I was going. That's when I noticed the signs. They weren't road signs, not normal ones. They were wooden, old, hand-carved, stuck into the dirt every few hundred feet. First one said, "He rides at night." The next, "Don't look back." Then, "His eyes are mirrors." I was breathing hard, sweating through my shirt even though the air felt like ice. I reached for my phone, but it was dead, screen cracked like someone had stomped on it. I looked up, and in my headlights, standing dead center in the road, was that same little girl again. Bare feet, white dress, hair over her face. This time she didn't point. She just tilted her head and said, clear as day, "You're getting close." And then she vanished again. Not into the woods, not into the night. She just blinked out, like she'd never been there. But her voice stayed in the cab, echoing like it had been planted in my skull. "He's in the engine now. He's riding the gears." And that's when my engine began to scream. It wasn't a mechanical scream, not the kind you hear when the piston seize or a belt snaps. This was deeper, primal, like the howl of something alive and ancient getting torn apart from the inside. The whole rig started juddering, every bolt and panel vibrating like it was going to rip itself apart. I slammed both feet on the brakes. Nothing. The wheel spun on its own, yanking left and right like invisible hands were jerking it back and forth. I couldn't control a damn thing. The lights up ahead flickered, first orange, then red, then that strange cold blue I'd seen in the watcher's eyes. The radio, dead minutes ago, crackled to life with static so loud it made my ears ring, and beneath the static, breathing, slow, heavy, right behind me. I reached for the curtain again. God help me, I don't know why, and this time, before I could pull it aside, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Cold, damp, like it had just clawed its way out of the ground. I froze, didn't even breathe. The hand gripped tighter. Then the voice came, deep, gravelly, like rocks grinding under the weight of a mountain. "Keep your eyes on the road, driver." I don't remember screaming. I just know the next thing I saw was a tunnel up ahead, carved right into the side of a hill that hadn't been there seconds before. Black stone, perfectly smooth, with no lights, no signs. Just opening wide like the mouth of some giant beast waiting to swallow me whole. And I had no choice. I was heading straight for it. As I entered, every light in my rig flickered and died. The dash, the cabin, even my damn headlights. It was like driving into a coffin. All I could hear now was the growl of the engine and that breathing, still behind me, calm and slow like whatever was back there had all the time in the world. The deeper I went, the colder it got, until my fingertips went numb on the wheel. I could see nothing. Not the road, not my hands, just pitch black. And then something moved in the dark. Not outside, not in the tunnel. Inside the cab, crawling across the ceiling, slow like a spider. The roof groaned under its weight, sagging down like it was about to split open. I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I knew was that something was up there, and it was getting closer to my head. I shut my eyes tight and prayed. Prayed like I hadn't since I was a kid, hiding from storms in a trailer park in Missouri. And then, just when I thought I was done for, the tunnel opened back up, and I was back on the highway, middle of the night, cool wind rushing through a broken window. But I wasn't alone. I knew he was still with me, still riding in the truck, the watcher, only now. He wasn't hiding anymore. I could feel him there now, like a second shadow stitched to my skin. He didn't whisper anymore. He didn't crawl across the ceiling or tug the wheel from my hands. No. Now he sat beside me in the passenger seat, like a damn co-pilot from hell, and I didn't have to turn my head to see him. I could feel the weight of him, heavy and cold, like a body pulled from deep water. The air inside the cab was different, thicker, harder to breathe, like every lungful was dragging through wet gravel. The mirrors were still gone, but the side window showed reflections that didn't match what was outside. I saw forests where there were none, buildings I'd never passed, faces, hundreds of them, pressing against the glass, mouths open like they were screaming, but not a sound came through. Just the hum of the tires and the low, pulsing thrum of the engine. And then he finally spoke. Clear this time, calm, like he'd been waiting for me to accept he was there. "You know what this road is now," he said, voice low like wind, cutting through bone. "You've seen it." I didn't answer, didn't dare. My hands gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. "You've been marked," he continued. "Once you see the truth of the highway, it sees you back, and it never lets go." I tried to focus on the road, tried to breathe steady, but the lights ahead were changing again. They flickered in impossible colors, ones I ain't even got names for. Neon reds that bled into violet shadows, greens that made my teeth ache, like the color was vibrating through my skull. The lines on the road twisted, curled, spiraled into symbols, glyphs, shapes I'd only ever seen once, burned into the dirt outside that shack in Arizona where the dogs wouldn't bark. "They're waiting," he said, "just up ahead." And as he said it, I saw them. Shapes on the horizon, tall and thin, standing like sentries across both sides of the road. They weren't human. They had no faces, just long, dripping forms like black wax melting under a sun that didn't exist. I hit the brakes again. Useless. The truck didn't slow. It wanted to go. It needed to go. My hands moved without my say-so, guiding the wheel through the path those things had made. As I passed them, I felt my body go cold, like they were siphoning the heat right out of me. And in the rear view, where there shouldn't have been nothing, I saw them climbing onto the trailer. Dozens of them, crawling, slithering, melting into the sides of the metal. And the rig, it didn't sound like a truck anymore. It roared, groaned, like it was alive, like I was driving a beast. I wasn't hauling freight anymore. I was hauling souls, and mine was just the next one on board. I don't even know how long I drove like that. Time didn't mean a damn thing anymore. Could have been minutes, could have been days. The sky never changed. Still that same suffocating dark with no moon, no stars. Just an endless black dome pressing down on me like a lid on a coffin. The headlights didn't do much either. They cut through the dark in short, flickering bursts, like a dying flashlight. Every now and then I'd see something move on the side of the road. Tall shadows, arms too long, heads turned completely backward. But they never came closer, just watched, like they were waiting for something, waiting for me to break. And let me tell you, I was close. I was real close. My hands were locked on that wheel like they were welded there. My back stuck to the seat from cold sweat. My mouth was dry, lips cracked. I hadn't blinked in what felt like hours. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the CB sputtered back to life. No static this time, just a voice, not mine, not human. "Cargo acknowledged," it said, slow and guttural, like rocks grinding under pressure. "Proceed to drop point." I don't know why that scared me more than anything else, but it did. Maybe because it meant someone or something was expecting me, that this wasn't random, that there was a plan. The road started sloping downward, steep and sudden, like the whole damn world was sinking. The air got thicker, harder to breathe, smelling like rot and burnt rubber. The shadows on the side of the road began moving with me now, keeping pace, flickering in and out like they were phasing through different layers of reality. That's when I saw it, up ahead, at the bottom of that endless descent. A giant gate, made of rusted iron, looking like it hadn't opened in centuries. Symbols were carved into every inch of it, twisting and shifting like they were alive. Behind the gate, nothing. Just more black. But not empty black. Full black. Like the road led into the mouth of the universe itself. My rig didn't slow down. If anything, it sped up. I gripped the wheel and shouted. Don't even remember what I said. But it didn't matter. The watcher just sat there, silent now. Like his job was done. Like he was just along for the ride. I hit the gate doing 80. But instead of crashing, I passed through it. No impact, no noise, just darkness swallower in me whole. And the moment I crossed that threshold, everything stopped. Dead quiet, dead still. No engine, no lights, nothing. I wasn't in the cab anymore. I wasn't anywhere I could describe. Just floating in black, heavy as stone, with whispers slithering all around me. Not words, not voices, just knowledge. Like I was being filled with the memories of things I was never meant to know. Things older than roads, older than time. And at the center of it all, I saw it. The thing I'd been hauling this whole time. The cargo, not freight, not goods. It was me. A version of me, screaming, trapped, eyes wide and mouth open like I'd been howling for centuries. That's when I understood. The highway didn't take you. It copied you. The watcher, he wasn't a monster. He was a driver, the first one, caught in the loop. And now it was my turn. My rig was the new beast. My route was eternal. And the next time some poor soul hits that cursed patch of asphalt, I'll be the one riding shotgun, watching, waiting, guiding them into the dark. And buddy, if you're still listening, if my voice is still reaching through the hiss of your speakers, if somehow this tale got recorded or broadcast or maybe just etched into the fabric of the road, you better listen good. Because once you hear it, once the story gets inside your head, the road starts looking back. That's how it starts. Not with monsters or ghosts or tunnels that ain't on no map. It starts with a sound you can't explain. A flicker in the headlights, a stretch of blacktop that just feels too quiet. And then you see something out of place. A shape standing still in the dark. A truck parked where no truck should be. A gas station with a pump that still ticks over even though it's not connected to anything. That's how it got me. That's how it gets all of us. It don't come screaming with claws and teeth. It invites you, like it's doing you a favor, a shortcut, a quiet night, a straight shot with no way stations. And once you take it, once your wheels touch that cursed stretch of road, you ain't just driving anymore. You're participating, part of the route, part of the system. Now I ain't got no proof of what happened, no dash cam footage, no GPS logs. Hell, the truck itself, the one I was driving before it all went sideways, don't even show up in the system anymore. It's like I never existed, like I was replaced. I tried getting off the road once, after it all happened. Left the truck in a lot outside Reno, bought a bus ticket, thought maybe I could run from whatever I'd seen. But halfway through Nevada, the bus broke down. Middle of nowhere, desert on both sides. And what do I see parked out behind a mesquite bush, halfway buried in dust? My rig, clean, shining. Key hanging from the mirror, engine humming like it had never been turned off. I didn't get back on. No, sir. I ran, fast and hard as I could. But the sound followed me for miles. The low rumble of the diesel engine, like it was cruising just behind the horizon, waiting for me to give up. And the worst part? I started seeing the watcher, not in person, just in reflections, store windows, rearview mirrors of cabs that weren't mine. Even once, in the dark tint of a vending machine in a truck stop. He was there, eyes glowing, smiling, like he was proud, like I'd done good work. 'Cause here's the truth. I wasn't just a victim. I was part of the delivery. Whatever was in that trailer, whatever the hell that version of me was, I brought it home. And now the road remembers me. It knows my name. It knows my face. And every time a lonely driver passes through a dead patch of highway where no signals reach and no signs point back, they get a little closer to seeing what I saw. And maybe, just maybe, you're next. So if your CB starts whispering things you didn't say, if your headlights flicker even though your battery's new, if you see a girl on the side of the road wearing a white dress and she points down a dark off-ramp that don't appear on no GPS, don't take it. Don't even slow down. Because once you enter that highway, there ain't no off-ramp. There's only forward, forever. I'm telling you this now because no one told me. Maybe this story's just a last scream echoing through the airwaves. Maybe I'm not even real anymore. Just a memory the road spits back out to lure in the next haul. But you're listening. That means you're already too close. So keep your eyes on the road. Don't look in the mirror. And for the love of all things holy, don't stop when the radio says your name, because that's when it really sinks its hooks in you. That's the moment it knows it's got your attention, that you're hearing it, not just with your ears, but with your bones. When the static clears and your name crackles through the speaker like it's coming from inside your own damn head, it's already too late. I remember when it happened to me. I was some 200 miles outside Amarillo, cruising smooth. Flat night ahead, no traffic for miles. CB had been dead for hours. Then out of nowhere, sharp hiss. Then a voice, soft and low, like a whisper wrapped in molasses. Fletcher. That's my name. Ain't many folks know it. Hell, I haven't used it on the road in years. Most drivers just call me Red 'cause of the old Peterbilt I used to run with that rust-colored hood. But when that voice said Fletcher, it knew me. Not my call sign, not my route, me. I picked up the mic, stupidly, and said, "Who is this?" No response, just breathing. Slow, rhythmic, like someone was sitting right beside the CB, letting the mic pick up every inhale, every exhale. Then it said, "It's time, that's all. It's time." I tossed that mic clear across the cab and mashed the gas pedal, but the engine didn't respond. The truck kept rolling, but I wasn't in charge anymore. And that's when the scenery started changing. Real subtle at first. The moon looked wrong, too big, too low on the horizon, like it was watching me. The trees along the side of the road twisted in on themselves, trunks warping like melted wax. The mile markers started going backward. I ain't lying. I saw marker 276, then 275, then 274, like I was rolling back in time. Then I saw the signs. You know the kind. Green ones with the white letters telling you what towns are up ahead. Only these signs didn't have town names. They had dates. 12/03, 1987. 06/15, 1994. 08/22, 2010. I realized those weren't places. They were memories. My memories. Dates of things I never talked about. Things I never should have talked about. Like the day my brother disappeared from that rest stop off I-90, or the night I saw my old man standing in the rain, dead 5 years by then, staring at my rig from the edge of the trees. The road was showing me, my sins, my regrets, my ghosts. And still, the CB hissed. Still, that voice breathed. And finally it said, "Drop point ahead." I didn't know what it meant at first. Thought maybe it was a metaphor. Some weird, psychic mumbo-jumbo, until I saw the off-ramp, unmarked, cracked pavement, overgrown with weeds like it hadn't been used in decades. But the headlights followed it anyway. My hands turned the wheel. I wasn't in control. I wasn't the driver anymore. I was the cargo. I know what that sounds like, believe me. You think I've lost it. But I swear on diesel and dust, this is as real as the road beneath your tires. And if that off-ramp ever shows up in your path, don't take it. Hit the brakes. Swerve if you have to. Blow a tire. Flip the damn truck if that's what it takes. Just don't let the road think you're willing. 'Cause once you give in, once you ride that dark stretch even for a second, it's got a copy of you. And that copy, it don't stop. It don't eat. It don't sleep. It just drives. Forever. Through tunnels of bone and rivers of ash. toward a destination that ain't marked on any earthly map. And every time it passes by a real rig, a real driver, it whispers through the static and waits for someone else to listen. And that's the thing, ain't it? It don't need you to believe. It just needs you to listen. And that's how it spreads. Quiet. Slow. Like a crack in the windshield that starts small but creeps across the glass until everything shatters. You see, I've met others. Not many, but enough to know I ain't the only one who's seen that stretch of road. Other drivers, old-timers mostly. The kind who never stay parked long at truck stops, always moving, always watching the mirrors a little too much. I met one fella up near the Idaho line, pulled into a rest area just past midnight. He was standing outside his rig, smoking a cigarette with shaky hands. I said, "Long night?" And he just looked at me with eyes so damn tired it made my stomach turn. "They let you come back?" he asked. Not who I was, not where I'd been, just that. "They let you come back?" I nodded slow, unsure what the hell he meant, and he said, "Then they ain't done with you either." He flicked his cigarette, climbed back into his truck, and rolled out. Never saw him again. But his words stuck with me, like gravel in the tread of my soul. Because I realized then, you don't get away clean. Even if you manage to pull your rig out of that nightmare, even if your wheels hit good solid pavement again, the road remembers. It follows you. It calls to you. Sometimes it's in your dreams, long, winding stretches of asphalt that go on. Forever, with no off-ramps, no signs, just that endless hum of rubber on road and the faint sound of breathing that ain't yours. Other times it's worse. You're driving in daylight, clear skies, normal load, and suddenly the radio crackles. A child's voice, or a voice that sounds like yours, but older, broken, twisted, saying things you don't remember saying. Once I heard a voice begging for help, screaming my name. Sounded just like my little sister who died in a car crash 20 years ago. I nearly jackknifed trying to pull over, ran out into the road searching, shouting her name. But there wasn't nothing there, just that same empty stretch of highway and the low whistle of the wind. And when I got back in the cab, the rig was turned off. Keys weren't in the ignition, but the engine was running, smooth, silent, like it never stopped, like someone else had been driving while I was gone. I never told nobody this part before, but sometimes, late at night when I'm on a long haul, I look over to the passenger seat and there's a shadow sitting there, not shaped like a man, more like the absence of a man, like the space where a soul used to be. I never talk to it, and it never talks to me. It just waits. And when I fall asleep in the sleeper, sometimes I wake up and the truck's miles ahead of where I last remember driving. Fuel's lower. CB's turned to a dead channel. But I always feel rested, like I've been off duty, like the road took over for a while, like he drove for me. That's what I think now. That this thing, this entity or force or cursed, loop of haunted asphalt, it don't kill you, it don't eat you, it uses you, turns you into a relay, a beacon, so that the next poor soul with open ears and a curious mind might hear this voice, my voice, and inch a little closer to that dark off-ramp. So if you're hearing me now, if you've made it this far in the story, let me ask you something. Do you remember passing a stretch of road you didn't recognize? Do your GPS routes sometimes feel longer than they should? Do you ever lose time behind the wheel, even just a few minutes that don't add up? 'Cause if you do, you're already on the map, and the highway, don't forget, it just waits. And when it waits, it watches. That's what finally broke me, if I'm being real with y'all. It wasn't the monsters or the voices or even the roads that looped back on themselves like a snake eating its own tail. It was knowing I was being watched. Not just by the thing in the cab, not just by the shadows twisting through the trees, but by something bigger, older. The highway itself, maybe. I swear on diesel and dirt that pavement's got eyes. They don't blink. They don't move. But when you roll over a certain mile marker, when the lights catch a shimmer on the blacktop just right, you'll see 'em, flat, dull, glassy, like the eyes of roadkill that never stopped looking at what killed it. And let me tell you, once. You see 'em, they see you too. I tried running, quit the road cold turkey, sold my rig, cleared out my bank account, bought a small place in Montana where the stars were still honest and the wind didn't carry whispers. Thought I could bury myself in silence. For a while it worked. I went 6 months without driving, more than a mile. But every night I'd hear that hum, not from a truck, from under the earth, like the whole world had a diesel engine buried deep below and it was revving up. Gears grinding, clutches catching, waiting. Then one night, I woke up to the smell of hot asphalt. Not in a metaphorical way. I mean really, the house reeked like fresh tar. I followed the scent outside, barefoot, half asleep, and there it was. A road, where there hadn't been one the day before. Cut straight through the tree line, smooth and dark, steam rising from it like it had just been laid down by some phantom crew. And at the end of that road, my truck. My damn truck. Same rust-red Peterbilt. Same chrome mirror I used to hang my lucky dice from. Same dent on the front bumper from that deer I hit back in '06. Keys were in the ignition. Engine was running. Radio was whispering. I didn't walk toward it. I ran. But the road followed me, wrapped back around my property. Every path I took, it was there ahead of me. I tried climbing a ridge, but the damn road slithered up the rocks like a living thing. It wanted me back. And eventually, I gave in. What choice did I have? I ain't ashamed to say I cried when I climbed back into that cab. Not out of fear, out of grief, like seeing an old friend you hoped you'd never lay eyes on again. The moment I sat down, the rig rolled forward. No gas, no brakes, it just moved. And I knew. I wasn't in Montana anymore. Not really. Not in any place a map would claim. I was back on that road, the long one, the hungry one. And this time, it was different. It wasn't just haunting me anymore. It needed me. You see, the road don't end. It just changes shape. Sometimes it's a backwoods highway in Georgia. Sometimes it's a frost-bitten trail through Wyoming. Sometimes it's a gravel path behind a diner where a teenager vanished 20 years ago. It puts on new faces. And now, I'm the one who shows up to guide the next driver in. I don't want to. God help me, I don't want to. But when you're part of the road, you ain't got choices anymore. Only direction, forward. So if you're hearing this, if you're driving some lonely stretch and see headlights flashing in the rear view that don't ever get closer, or if your CB comes alive with a voice you recognize but can't quite place, don't answer. Don't stop. Don't even think about changing course. Because the moment you do, you become like me. Another wheel in the machine. Another ghost in the rig. Another mile in the road's endless hunger. And brother, it never stops eating. And when I say it never stops eating, I don't mean it in some poetic, spooky kind of way. I mean it literal. That road consumes, not just fuel, not just rubber or steel or flesh. It devours identity. I used to be a man, a trucker, had a name, a family, a past. Now, I'm stories told on static channels, a silhouette seen in a mirror that don't reflect right, a pair of taillights you follow for hours that never lead anywhere. I'm part of the diet. A dish served up to the next poor driver who dares stay behind the wheel just a little too long on a stretch of highway that don't match the GPS. You might think I'm crazy. Wouldn't blame you. Hell, if someone told me this back when I was pulling regular reefer loads from Dallas to Minneapolis, I'd have laughed them out of the truck stop. But I've seen it, friend. I've felt it. That moment when your headlights catch a turnoff that wasn't there before, when the air feels heavier like it's holding its breath. That ain't your imagination. That's the road testing you, looking for cracks, a weak spot in your soul, a way in. And if you're tired, if your eyelids droop for even a second, if you think, maybe I'll just take this shortcut and rest for a bit, you fail. That's all it takes. A blink, a yawn, a moment of trust, and then the road's got you. You wake up in places you've never been, with logs that don't make sense. Fuel tanks half empty when you swear you just filled them. Time slips. Days disappear. I once picked up a load in Amarillo. Next thing I knew, I was dropping it in Michigan, with no memory of the drive, no receipts, no fuel stops. Just a smear in my mind like someone rubbed out half the chalkboard and left behind a scrawl that said, "Keep moving." And that's what you end up doing. Always moving. Can't stop. Not really. Even when I park now, I hear the engine ticking. Not my truck's engine. The roads, like a big metal lung breathing beneath the earth, calling all its lost children back home. You ever wonder why some truckers vanish? I'm talking rigs left abandoned, loads still strapped down tight, cab doors hanging open, no sign of the driver. We chalk it up to crime or someone skipping town, but let me tell you, it ain't always that. Sometimes they took a wrong turn, or a right one, depending how the road wants to play it. I passed by a rig once, sitting on the side of a forgotten stretch in Utah. Windows down, CB screaming white noise. When I looked inside, there was a sandwich half-eaten, coffee still hot in the thermos, keys in the ignition, but no driver. Just a note on the dash. 3 words. I met him. That was all. Nothing else. And buddy, I swear to you, I recognized that handwriting. It was mine. I never wrote it. Not that I remember, but it was mine. That's when I knew. The road ain't done with me, not by a long shot. I'm just one of its many mouths now, just one of the voices it uses to draw folks closer. And if you're hearing this, then maybe, just maybe, it's already sniffing at you. So next time you're on a dark highway, no lights, no signs, no music, just that low hum of rubber on asphalt. Listen close. If the silence starts, feeling too loud, if the mirrors show shadows that don't belong, if the road ahead seems to breathe when it shouldn't, then punch the gas. Get off that highway. And whatever you do, don't follow the truck with no license plate and a driver wearing a grin that never blinks. That's me. And if I pass you on the road, don't wave. Don't flash your lights. Don't even acknowledge me. Because if I see you see me, I might have to deliver your story next. And that's the cruel truth, friend. Once the road picks you, there's no final destination, no end of the line. Just more miles, more shadows, and more of them. The ones who... Listen, it's funny, you know. All them years I thought I was the one telling the story. Thought I was just unloading nightmares like any tired old trucker with too much time and not enough sleep. But now I see it clearer than the stretch of blacktop on a windless night. The road's using me, my voice, my face, my memories. It wears me like a damn skin suit to lure in the next soul willing to drive a little too far, a little too late, with a little too much curiosity. I remember the first time I heard myself on someone else's radio. I wasn't even talking. CB was off, engine humming low, just me and the darkness somewhere near the Arizona border. Then it happened, a burst of static so loud it made my fillings ache, and out came my voice. Not kinda like mine, not a little familiar. It was me, telling the story of the gas station that disappeared behind me in the blink of an eye. The same story I told you hours ago. Word for word, breath for breath. It was like someone had recorded my soul and hit play through someone else's speaker. And I swear on every mile I've ever driven, I heard someone answer. Hey man, you okay? Where was this again? And that's all it takes. One question. One curious fool looking for a thrill. The second they bite, the road latches on like a leech, and it don't let go. They'll find that stretch somehow. GPS'll reroute, signs will vanish, and they'll end up exactly where the road wants them. You ever notice how easy it is to miss an exit you were sure was right there a second ago? Or how sometimes you pass the same diner twice an hour apart even though you never turned around? That's not your mind slipping. That's the road changing the game. It plays fair, I'll give it that. Gives you chances to turn back. Warnings. Like hearing your own voice on the CB, Or seeing your rig pass you in the opposite lane. Yeah, that's a thing too. Happened to me once. I was hauling dry freight through West Texas, long flat stretch with no other trucks for miles. Then bam, there I was. My rig, my plates, my window sticker from that dive bar in Wichita. Headed east while I was headed west. We passed mirror to mirror, and I swear the me in that other cab turned and looked right at me. But he didn't blink, didn't smile, didn't move. Just watched. That night I drove until I ran out of fuel and still didn't feel safe. You want to know the worst part? The real kicker? I think there's more than one road. I think there's thousands. They crisscross beneath ours, hidden like veins beneath skin. And when one pulls you in, the others start to take notice, like sharks in bloody water. Ever since I came back, I say came back like I was ever really free. I've noticed things changing. My route logs don't match up. My fuel receipts have dates that don't exist. And sometimes I see faces in my rear view that I know aren't human, not anymore. But here's what keeps me up most nights. What if I'm not the real me anymore? What if he took my place on that road and I'm just what's left behind? A copy? A reflection? A placeholder driving until the real world forgets I existed? So listen up, whoever's out there. If your rig's been acting funny, if your dreams smell like asphalt and engine grease, if you're hearing voices that sound too familiar coming through dead channels, pull over, now. Don't drive at night. Don't drive alone. Don't trust any stretch of highway that don't show up on your paper map. And for the love of every poor soul trapped on that cursed black ribbon, don't ever take a road that wasn't there yesterday, because next time, I might be the one waiting at the end of it, and if I'm waiting at the end of that road, friend, it means it's already too late for you. I won't wave you down. I won't block your path. I won't even look you in the eye. I'll just stand there, by the edge of the asphalt, maybe leaning against a rusted-out rig that hums like it's breathing, maybe staring off into the trees that ain't trees at all, just shadows shaped like memories, and I'll nod once, slow and heavy. And that nod, that's the road's way of saying welcome home. You won't feel the moment you cross over, not at first. There's no screeching of tires, no sudden jolt, no thunder crack to mark the line. Just a stillness, a shift, a silence that presses on your chest like deep water. Your engine'll still hum, your radio'll still spit static and faint music from stations that don't exist. But the sky will look different. The stars will be wrong, maybe too many of them, maybe none at all. And your GPS, it'll freeze then blink out. Every direction you turn will look the same. You'll drive and drive and drive thinking you're making progress. But every landmark will start to repeat like a record stuck in a groove. I met a driver once out there. Name was Curtis, I think. Or maybe that's just what the road called him. Pulled up beside me at a gas station that didn't have a name. Just an old wooden sign swinging in wind that didn't blow. His face was pale, sunken, like all the warmth had been sucked right out of him. We got to talking, mostly out of habit. He told me he'd been trying to get home to Ohio from Flagstaff. Said he missed his daughter's birthday, missed Christmas, missed 3 winters in a row. Didn't make sense at the time till he said, "This road ain't got no seasons, man, just dusk, just this middle part." I offered him a coffee, handed him a fresh one from my thermos. He held it like he didn't know what to do with it. "Ain't had anything hot in a long time," he said. "Everything I touch turns cold out here." Then he asked me something I ain't never forgotten. "Do you think we're the dead ones?" I laughed, nervous, tried to brush it off. But deep down, I wondered the same thing, because out there, time don't work right. Ain't just that. Days blur together. It's that you blur with them. You forget your last haul, your name, your birthday, your own reflection. I've looked in the side mirror more than once and seen someone else staring back. Not something monstrous. Just, not me, not anymore. And maybe that's what this road's really after. Not your body, not your truck, not even your fear. It wants yourself, piece by piece, memory by memory. You become part of the asphalt, a whisper in the wind, a brake light in the fog. That's how it grows. It feeds off drivers like us, the lonely ones, the tired ones, the ones who live between destinations. We're its fuel. So if you ever find yourself driving late, radio quiet, headlights barely touching the black ahead, and you see a truck parked on the shoulder, idling quiet, don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't even look. Because I might be sitting there, waiting. Not for help, not for fuel, but for you. And if I'm waiting for you, it ain't because I want company. It's because the road wants you next, and I'm just the messenger now. A mouthpiece with diesel in my veins and ghosts in my lungs. The road speaks through me like wind through busted pipes. You ever hear that low moan when you're driving through the plains at night? When the wind brushes past the rig just right, and it almost sounds like a voice? That ain't wind. That's them. All the drivers who came before. The ones who stayed too long, who didn't listen, who let curiosity crack their fate open like a bad axle. You know what keeps me going? It ain't hope, 'cause I don't think there's any left. It's not fear, neither, that burned out of me long ago. It's memory. Or maybe the ghost of memory. There's still pieces of me trapped back in the real world. I catch flashes sometimes. My kids laugh on a warm summer day, the smell of my wife's cornbread cooling on the counter, the sound of a ball game coming through a screen door. I try to hold on to those moments like a man clutching a photo in a storm, but they slip, fade, get overwritten by the hum of tires on cursed pavement. One night, I passed a rig that looked just like mine, except cleaner, newer, shiny chrome. No rust on the hood, no stickers peeled from sun. Driver looked like me, but younger, smiling, confident, free. I don't know if that was a memory or a warning. Maybe it was the me that could have been. Maybe it was what the road took and kept for itself. A doppelganger riding infinite miles, never stopping, never a gin, never thinking, just driving. That's what it does best. It takes what you were and makes it hollow, a shell, an echo. You'll start seeing them too if you end up out here. Drivers without faces. Convoys that pass you in the fog, silent as tombstones. A diner that always has the same waitress, same song on the jukebox, same half-empty coffee cup on the counter. I've been to that diner at least 50 times. Never ordered, never left full. Just passing through like a dream you can't wake from. The CB radio's the worst part. Sometimes it screams, sometimes it whispers, and sometimes it plays my own voice before I speak. Like it already knows what I'm gonna say. Like I'm just catching up to myself. And once, just once, I heard my daughter's voice come through. Not grown, not how she'd sound now, but little. Like when she used to sit on my knee and ask if the moon followed us. She said, "Daddy, come home. Please come home." I damn near drove straight into a ravine right then. Pulled over, heart pounding, tears spilling down my face. But when I looked at the dash, the radio was off. So I ask you, how does a voice come through a dead channel unless it ain't dead? Unless the road lets in whatever hurts most? You're still listening, ain't you? You're still here, following this tale like a breadcrumb trail through a haunted forest. That's how it starts. Curiosity. Intrigue. You think you're just hearing a story, but maybe you already passed the sign. Maybe the last fuel stop you hit was the last real one. Maybe the next time you check your map, you'll see a turnoff you don't remember taking. And when that happens, remember my voice. Remember this. Warning, don't take the turn. Don't answer the CB. Don't chase the taillights. Because once you do, you'll never stop driving. You'll never stop driving. Not because your truck won't quit, not because you got a full tank or a deadline to meet, but because the road won't let you. It gets in your blood, in your thoughts. It whispers in the engine noise and hums lullabies through the tires. It don't matter how far you think you've gone or how fast you drive. Every time you look in the mirror, the horizon looks exactly the same. Just a little too close, a little too warped, like it's stretching and bending just to keep you trapped inside it. I remember the first time I tried to get off the highway after I knew something wasn't right. I saw a sign for an exit, plain white, no name, just exit 99. And I figured, hell, maybe it's a shortcut to sanity. I pulled off, tires hitting gravel, and for a second I felt like I was breathing fresh air again. Trees lined the road. A little fog hung over the ground, but it didn't feel hostile, just quiet. I saw a gas station in the distance, lights, flickering like they were fighting to stay lit. The place looked abandoned, but not dead, like it had been waiting for me. I stepped out of the cab, boots hitting cracked pavement, and the second I shut the door, I heard my engine keep idling. I hadn't left it running. I turned back and saw myself, still in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, eyes straight. Ahead, no blinking, no breathing, just sitting there like some wax dummy. And the me in the cab turned his head slowly and smiled, but it wasn't my smile, it was his, the road's. And I knew right then, I wasn't leaving. That exit, it wasn't a way out, it was just another on-ramp, twisted and looped back, into the same cursed stretch of highway. That's when I realized, the road ain't a place, it's a state, a condition, a sickness maybe. And once it's in you, it reshapes everything around you to make sure you stay on it. You try to leave? It folds the world like paper and drops you right back where you started. Sometimes I think I'm driving in circles. Other times it feels like I'm driving through different worlds stitched together, each one worse than the last. I passed a town once. Sign said Harmony Ridge. Looked clean, real nice, American. Flags, white fences, quiet streets. Too quiet. Not a single person around. No cars, no animals, not even a breeze. Just a church bell ringing every 10 minutes like clockwork. I stopped, walked the streets, tried to find someone, anyone, but every house was locked from the inside. Curtains drawn, TVs buzzing static in every living room like they'd all been frozen mid-show. Then I found the diner. Same one as before, same waitress, same damn coffee cup. She looked at me with eyes that were too wide, too empty, and said, "You're early this time." I backed out real slow, left that place behind without looking back. But the next night, Harmony Ridge showed up again, 20 miles down the road, same town, same sign, same bell. You think I'm crazy? I wouldn't blame you. Hell, I hope you think I'm crazy. Because the moment this starts sounding familiar, if you start remembering towns that ain't on any map, exits that don't have names, or hearing voices in your CB calling out your childhood nickname, you're already on the wrong road. And if you pass a truck that looks just like yours, same scratches, same rust spots, same dent in the rear bumper from that deer you hit back in '03, don't follow it. Don't even look too long, because if it slows down and pulls to the side, and you get the urge to see who's behind the wheel, it won't be you anymore. And once it ain't you anymore, well, that's it. That's the moment you stop being a driver and start being cargo. You become just another soul the road hauls from nightmare to nightmare, from place to place that don't exist, from memory to memory until even your name starts sounding like someone else's when you think it. The road don't need a license, plate, or a logbook to own you. It just needs time, and it's got all the damn time in the world. I've lost track of how long I've been driving. I used to keep a notebook with dates, miles, fuel stops, pages filled with scribbles. But one day I flipped back through and every page said the same thing. You're still here, over and over, like I'd been writing it in my sleep, or like someone else had been writing in my hand. That notebook's gone now, disappeared from the glove box, probably back in that diner waiting for the next poor bastard who orders a coffee that never gets cold. You know how I pass the time? Now, I talk. Like this. Like I'm sitting across from someone in a dusty rest stop booth telling them the truth they never asked for. I leave my CB on channel 19 and ramble into the void, hoping someone's listening. Sometimes I hear voices back, not always human ones. Once I heard laughing. Not the kind of laughing that comes from a joke, but the kind of laughing that sounds like it found you. and it knows you're scared, and it loves that. And then there was that one time I heard my own voice begging for help, crying, pleading, saying things I know I never said, things like, "Please, I'll turn back now," and "Don't take my daughter too," and "I didn't mean to stay this long." And that voice, it broke me, because it didn't sound like a stranger. It sounded like me before all this, before the road hollowed me out, before I stopped being a man and started being a story. That's what I am now. A story the road tells to scare others. A whisper that travels through radio waves and the spaces between truck stops. I ain't got a home. I ain't got a route. I just follow where the asphalt bends and where the dark is deepest. My headlights ain't reaching as far these days. My mirrors keep showing things that ain't behind me, and sometimes I hear knocking from inside the trailer, even when I'm running empty. I used to check. I don't anymore. Let me give you a final warning, friend. Next time you're driving long haul and you feel the air get too still, the roads stretch a little too smooth, the night fall a little too fast, slow down. Turn off your CB. Don't. Answer voices that sound like yours. Don't pull over unless you see someone blink. And if you see a truck stopped ahead with its hazards flashing in perfect rhythm, don't pass it. Don't stop. Don't even look. Because if you do, you might just see me. And if you see me, the road's already got your scent. And once the road's got your scent, brother, it's over. It don't matter where you came from, what you're hauling, or how strong your will is. You belong to it. The asphalt remembers. It remembers your tires, your heartbeat, your sins, especially your sins. See, I don't think this road was built by men. I don't think it was mapped by any agency or patched by any crew. I think it grew, like a root system, like a parasite stretching under our highways, waiting for the right ones to drive across its back and never come off. It knows the lonely. It knows the broken. It knows the ones who'd rather be out here running 100 empty miles than sitting at a table with people who don't ask anymore why you ain't home for Christmas. That's who it picks. That's who it feeds on. I used to think I was just unlucky. Wrong place, wrong time. But that ain't true. The road chose me, like it chooses all of us. You ever notice how some truckers vanish without a trace? No crash, no call, just gone. Folks say it's thieves, cartels, freak accidents, maybe even serial killers. But I know better. The road has exits that ain't on GPS, towns that weren't ever incorporated, stretches of blacktop that show up one night and ain't there the next. And when you cross onto one of them, it's like crossing into a different reality. One where the stars are watching you, and the moon ain't your friend. I passed a rig once, an old Peterbilt, cherry red, polished chrome that gleamed even in fog. Thing was immaculate, like it just rolled off the line. Driver gave me a wave, but it wasn't casual. It was slow, deliberate, like a warning. I slowed, curious, and we both pulled onto the shoulder. Guy stepped out, tall, lean, beard neat like he gave a damn. Said his name was Delroy. Told me he'd been driving since 78 and hadn't been able to stop since 89. I laughed, thought he was joking. He wasn't. He said the road got him somewhere outside Tulsa. Said he passed through a storm he shouldn't have survived. But when the clouds cleared, he was still driving. No wreck, no injuries. Just elsewhere. He showed me a map he kept, pinned to his dash. Looked normal at first, but it had red strings running between towns that didn't exist. Places like Kiln Hollow, Burnside's Fork, Slaughter Ridge, all connected, all crossed out in red ink. He said, "You ever hear the phrase, dead man's curve? That ain't a figure of speech, it's directions." I never saw Delroy again, but I passed his rig 2 years later, sitting behind a burned-out barn off Highway 54. No driver inside, just a CB mic hanging from the dash, swinging like it'd just been dropped. And on the passenger seat, his hat. That was the night I stopped counting the days. If you're still hearing this, if you're still driving, and the road ain't twisted you yet, Turn back. I don't care where you are. Hit the brakes, take the first ramp with a diner, and people who blink, and dogs that bark, and babies that cry. Don't stop for lights that don't flicker. Don't trust signs that ain't faded. And if you hear a voice on the CB say your name exactly right, shut it off. Because that ain't your dispatcher. That ain't your buddy. That's the road, and it's inviting you home. And that's the scariest part of all, when the road calls you home and a part of you actually feels it. That pull in your gut, like something familiar, is waiting just beyond the fog. A voice saying it's all going to be okay if you just keep driving, keep going, don't question it, don't stop, don't think. And if you let it, it wraps around you like a warm blanket full of broken promises. You'll start thinking, maybe this is where I belong. Maybe I was made for this road. And once that thought takes hold, you're gone. You might still be breathing, still shifting gears and chasing mile markers. But the part of you that matters, that's already behind you in a rest stop that never really existed. You know how I know I'm too far gone? I don't dream anymore. Used to all the time. Dreams about my wife, my daughter, even my old dog Buck, who used to ride shotgun with his head hanging out the window, tongue flapping in the wind. Now, just black. Like driving through a tunnel with the headlights off and no sound but the engine humming. Night after night, same emptiness. And it's not peaceful, no. It's hungry. The kind of empty that makes you feel like you're being watched by something that forgot what mercy means. I passed through a stretch once where time didn't feel right. Sun hung in the sky too long, low, orange, never setting, never rising. Just stuck. I drove for what felt like days in that twilight. Fuel gauge never moved, no towns, no signs. Just trees that looked too still and shadows that moved the wrong direction. I started hearing things on the wind, whispers, but too far off to understand. Then one night, my headlights caught something on the side of the road. A man, or what was left of one. Skin pulled tight like paper, eyes wide open but dried out. He had a logbook clutched to his chest, brittle fingers frozen around it. I stopped. Against my better judgment, I climbed down and pried the thing loose. Only one sentence written, over and over again. The road eats time. The road eats time. The road eats time. I left it sitting on the hood of his rig and got the hell out of there. You ever wonder why your phone loses signal in some places? Not just bars dropping, but the whole thing going dark. No GPS, no emergency calls, nothing. That's not a glitch. That's the road cutting you off. The deeper you go, the less the world remembers you. It's like it starts erasing you bit by bit. First your signal, then your reflection, then your voice stops echoing. And eventually, even the dust your tires kick up stops landing. Because you're not really here anymore, not in the way that counts. I got a message once. Old flip phone I keep in the glove box just in case. Thing buzzed in the middle of the night. One new voicemail, no missed call. I played it. Static at first, then a voice. Daddy, it said, my daughter's voice, clear as a bell. Daddy, are you lost? I damn near threw the phone out the window, but I didn't. Because what if it was her? What if she'd found a way to reach me, even for a second? I played that message 1,000 times. Then one night it changed. Daddy, it said, we're lost too. And then laughter. Not hers, something else. Something with her. So I ask again, and I'll keep asking as long as there's diesel in the tank and tread on these wheels. You still listening, friend? Because if you are, it's already too late, and I reckon that's the truth I've been circling around this whole time. The part I didn't want to say out loud, not even to myself. The end. Not just the end of the road, but the end of me. I think I passed it. A long time ago and just kept rolling. Maybe out of habit, maybe out of fear. Maybe because that's what this road does. It don't end like a movie or a route on a map. It just keeps stretching until you ain't sure if you're moving forward or if the world's just looping behind you like a busted reel of film. But tonight, for the first time in what feels like forever, I saw something different. A sign. A real one. Faded green with chipped paint. It said, "End of line." Just those 3 words, no number, no arrows. Just hanging crooked off a rusted pole like it hadn't been touched since the dawn of man. My heart started pounding. I slowed down. The air felt heavier. The world around me. Quiet. Too quiet. Even the hum of the tires seemed to vanish. As I coasted down what looked like the final mile, the trees thinned out. The stars blinked out, one by one. And then, up ahead, I saw a truck, my truck, parked on the shoulder. Door hanging open, keys swinging in the ignition, CB hissing static. And in the driver's seat, slumped forward, head on the wheel, was me, but older, worn, tired, hollow. Stopped. Stepped out. Walked toward it like I was approaching a mirror that had aged 100 years without me. The thing in the seat didn't move. Didn't breathe. It was just done. Done driving. Done fighting. I looked down at the ground next to the door and saw footprints, boots like mine, walking away from the truck and vanishing into the darkness beyond the road's edge, and that's when I understood. The road does end. But not with a crash. Not with a scream. Not even with a goodbye. It ends when you stop running. When you're ready to step off and leave the asphalt behind. When you've told your story, and there's nothing left to haul but silence. So I turned off the key. The engine died with a sigh like it had been waiting for that moment just as long as I had. I left the door open. Let the night take it. I'm walking now. Not sure where I'm going. But the air smells different, cleaner, like grass after rain. I hear crickets. I feel dirt under my boots instead of rubber and tar. And somewhere far off, maybe just in my head, I hear my daughter laughing. I think I found the way out. So if you're still out there, hammer down, white-knuckling the wheel through fog and whispers, listen close. The road's got teeth. Yeah. But it don't gotta have you. Not forever. You can stop. You can turn back. You can choose. Because sometimes, the scariest story ain't the one about monsters or ghosts or haunted highways. Sometimes, it's the one where you forget you were ever human. So this is me signing off, friend. If you hear my voice on the CB again, it ain't me. It's just the road telling the story. Now you got your own. Drive safe, and don't miss your exit.